Oh my god, guys! Monster Hunter World has been announced for the Sony PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. It was announced at the Sony E3 conference of this year, 2017, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I heard the rumours before E3 and I was like, nah, I've got my hopes up so many times about a Monster Hunter coming out on the PS4, but no, boom, Monster Hunter World was announced and I cannot express how hyped I am for this game, guys. It looks absolutely fantastic. For years now, I've waited for a Monster Hunter game to have the graphics it deserves. It's got the gameplay. I just wanted some amazing graphics to go with the fantastic gameplay that we all know and love, and it looks phenomenal. Already, we've had so much information released about the game, which I will be going over some of that during this video. I also want to talk about my thoughts and opinions on the game so far, and also say some things that I would like to see in the game as well. Hopefully you guys will share your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section, but I'm looking forward to interacting with you and hearing your thoughts on Monster Hunter World, guys. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into it. So I want to start off by putting the Monster Hunter fanbase at ease. The core gameplay of Monster Hunter is still there. You're going out to hunt a big monster, to get materials from that monster so that you can create better weapons and armor, and you can also still gather items from the field like mushrooms, you can mine, and of course you can gather bugs. So all of that familiar core gameplay is still there, guys. It's also been confirmed that you can still sever parts of the monster like tails, and you can still obviously break parts of the monster as well. Now, something that has changed is the way that you gather in the game. So no longer do you have to stand still and gather with a bug net, for example, or you don't need to crouch down and gather mushrooms. It's a simple case of you see a mushroom growing on a wall and you can just kind of snatch it off the wall while walking. You can't run and gather at the same time, but you can still walk. It's the same with taking potions and stuff like that. You don't need to drink your potion, stop and do the flex anymore. You can just keep on moving. I think, in my opinion, this is a really nice touch. I can see why they've done this in such a massive world, because the maps are ginormous, guys. As far as I know, the maps are far bigger than any other Monster Hunter game previously. So this just makes sense to me. It just makes it more fluid and easier to gather rather than standing still and just staying in one spot for a long period of time. Now, this also brings me on to the next thing that I want to mention. After watching Pro Jared's video on YouTube, something he mentioned was that your health bar, stamina bar, and sharpness bar is still there, but this is hidden until you enter a fight. So that made me perk an eyebrow, because I was kind of thinking, well, since the maps are so large, does that mean that we have infinite stamina until we enter a fight? Because again, this would just make sense to me. The ability to run for an indefinite amount of time until we enter combat would just make things so much more easier with getting across large maps. But I don't know if that is the case, because it was also mentioned that there are various fast travel locations in a map, which is very useful. So that should just really indicate to you guys how large these maps are. And there's no loading screens, guys. There are still numbers for areas of the map, so you can relay that information to your teammates if you're playing on multiplayer. The monster is in area 10, whatever it may be. But there is no loading screens. So that means no more sneaking off into another area and using that loading screen to save you so that you can heal. I mean, I totally don't do that. You can see from this section of trailer footage that I'm using that the environments are very much alive. At the start, we kind of like break through into this area as the hunter. Now, from what I've seen on Twitter, I do believe that there are various ways to enter an area, and a lot of the environments are destructible and you can interact with them as well. I feel like this Monster Hunter game does put more emphasis on knowing your environment and using your environment to your advantage, which I will get more into a little bit later on this video. Also in this segment, we can see that the hunter is using bugs. Now what these are, they are tracking bugs, so you can kind of interact with footprints on the ground or drool, and then you can use these bugs to help you track the monster. Again, this just makes sense to me since the maps are so large. But it also raises a theory. So does that mean, unlike traditional Monster Hunter games where you kind of get used to where a monster will spawn, it's normally like one of 3 areas, something like that. Does that mean that it's not the case on this game, that it is truly randomized then? Because I kind of feel like if monsters show up in a certain area, then the tracking feature might not necessarily be needed. You know what I mean? You kind of get used to where the monsters appear eventually. So I don't know whether it's more randomized in this game and it's going to make you use that tracking feature more. Something Pro Jared also mentioned in his video is that there's normally about 4 monsters in a map at any given time. So when you use your bugs to interact with drool or a footprint, it will tell you in one of the lower corners what monster you're currently tracking. So obviously if you're not interested in fighting that monster, you will have to find some new drool or tracks or scratch marks, whatever it may be, and get on the trail of that particular beast. Now, we did see a little bit of swimming in this segment of video. I am actually really disappointed about this because I'm one of those Monster Hunter players that enjoyed the underwater combat. Underwater combat is not in this game. There's just a little bit of swimming, which are shortcuts into different zones of the map. Now I'm hoping that if the game is a success, they will release expansion packs, which obviously give us new monsters, environments, and stuff like that. I would like to see them implement underwater combat in this game. The controls are going to be better with it being on PC, Xbox One and PS4 versus the Nintendo 3DS. Personally, I didn't have much trouble with underwater combat on the Nintendo 3DS because the lock-on feature made it so much easier to fight under the water. I would really like underwater fights to be in Monster Hunter World eventually. Something else you should have noticed from this first section of video is you do have kind of like a little gun, I guess. This allows you to shoot down items hanging from trees and gather them. You can also shoot at vines that are holding rocks, which then allow you to drop those rocks on smaller enemies or larger monsters. Pro Jared has touched more on this on his recent video, so full credit to him. I think this is really, really cool. We also have the grapple ability, which allows us to swing through areas. So this means that getting through zones are a lot faster. And again, it probably means we can avoid smaller monsters down on the ground. Alternatively, you do have the option to crouch down and hide in reeds, I guess, or like shrubs. So you can completely avoid the smaller monsters altogether. So if you don't need materials from that monster, you can just go, what the hey, I'm just going to make my way over to the big kill, essentially. So this is really, really cool. And again, it touches on what I said earlier. I just feel like this Monster Hunter game is moving more towards being more skilled as a hunter. It's not just a case of going out to point A, finding the monster and slaying it. You can really interact with this living, breathing world and use the environment to your advantage. It also looks like you have kind of like distraction tools now. I don't know if you noticed in that segment of video, but it looked like we fired off almost like little flare bombs in a way to kind of make the smaller monsters scatter. I've also seen that you do have a stone that you can throw again, which is used for distraction purposes, either to lure a monster into the position that you want or to completely distract them so that you can sneak behind them and go through into a different area. So again, these are all features that I'm really excited about, guys. Ah, finally a new section of video. I'm sorry, there's just so much to talk about, guys. So we have had it confirmed that there's going to be a lot of new monsters in this game, which obviously I'm super hyped about. We see 2 new monsters in the recent E3 footage. I'm not even going to attempt to say the names of these creatures, but you can see the T-Rex-like monster on this segment of video. Also, there's going to be, of course, returning monsters from Monster Hunter as well. Now, something I do want to say to people who are new to Monster Hunter, if you think it's just going to be dinosaur type monsters, please, please, for the love of God, go and look at the Monster Hunter wiki, because there is so much different monsters in the Monster Hunter series, and I'm sure it's going to have plenty of variety and not just dinosaur type monsters. Right, now, something I forgot to mention is we do actually see damage numbers on screen now. Sadly, there's no evidence of this on the E3 footage that I have available. I don't know how intrusive it is, but Pro Jared said that he doesn't find it too distracting on screen and he actually prefers it. Now, for me, I don't normally like damage numbers on screen. I'm not the kind of person that feels like it's necessary. So I'm hoping that they do give an option to turn this off and on as well when you decide you want it available. I mean, I do think it's useful for new players because different body parts on monsters are weaker than others, and certain elements do more damage to certain monsters than others. All of this information will be on the Monster Hunter wiki, which is run by some amazing people on there. So yeah, you can always refer back to that or look at the damage numbers on screen, but personally I don't really want those on screen all the time. Also, in this segment of footage, we see the hunter putting on what looks like a ghillie suit. Apparently, these are known as mantles, and there's different ones. Ones that allow you to be more stealthy so that the monster can't see you or smell you. There's ones that kind of make you gain aggro of the monster, the attention of the monster, so that they are more likely to target you or follow you, stuff like that. So again, I feel like these are items that allow you to really use your environment to your advantage, and it's super cool. Now, the mantles do have cooldowns, guys, so you can't just like whip them on and off when you feel like it. So it is a case of deciding when it will work best for you. As you can see in this segment of footage, mounting is still in this game, and that's really awesome. There is a slight change to mounting now. You can target a part of the monster while mounting it. So you can choose to attack the head, you could attack the back, or you could go and attack the tail. I think this is super awesome personally, and it does raise a question though. So in multiplayer, does that mean that more than one person can mount at a time? There's no answer for this at the moment, and there's no evidence for this at the moment, but it's just kind of a speculation on my part. Can multiple people mount a monster at once and attack different body parts? Because that would be really, really cool if all 4 players were mounting a monster at the same time. I want to see it happen. We also saw the tree being knocked down in this segment of footage, and the monster kind of getting trapped in the vines of the tree. So that's creating a trap within the environment, and that's just really, really cool. So it makes me wonder, you know, when this game comes out, are there going to be players that don't even land a single attack with their weapon on a monster? Probably Japanese players are just going to fully use the environment to take out the creature. It's going to be so awesome. I want to see it happen again. It's making me so excited. We can also see on this footage that the monster will chase you through areas. You can kind of lure them into a different zone if you want a more open area to fight them, or you can use them to attack rocks and smash through into a new area. That was kind of a feature already in the Monster Hunter games anyway, like in the Tundra with Devil Joe, but I really like that this is being used more in Monster Hunter World. We also saw the grapple being used here so that the hunter could avoid an attack, and also the little gun being used so that vines could be shot at and then the big rock fell down onto the monster. And from Pro Jared's video, he said that stuff like that and other monsters attacking each other deals so much damage, way more damage than you deal as a hunter. So it just seems like there's so many opportunities to deal damage in Monster Hunter World where you might not want to just focus on using your weapon. We also saw in this segment of footage that we have the ability to run up trees and kind of springboard off and then attack with our weapon. That is awesome. I cannot wait to do this. So on this next bit of footage, we see Rathalos appear, and this is where the monsters start to fight. So according to people who have seen more footage at E3, you can lure monsters so that they will fight one another, basically. In this piece of footage, we see Rathalos pick up this new monster. Again, I'm not going to say what it's called because I'll butcher it. And then drop it. According to Pro Jared, this deals crazy amount of damage. So yeah, this is really, really awesome. And I'm wondering then, if you lure the monsters so that they are together, does that mean that they are more likely to focus on each other rather than you? Because that's going to create a very interesting dynamic in combat, in my opinion. Right, there's still more information to talk about. This game has drop in and out co-op multiplayer online. You see in this footage that the hunter fires up a flare. So in the footage so far, the hunter has been playing offline, and then if you want other players to have the chance to join in with you, if you're struggling on a hunt, then you can fire this flare off and it goes up and contacts the server, and then other players can jump in with you. I'm assuming that you set up presets for certain players joining and certain conditions, like other Monster Hunter games basically. You probably create a room saying what your target is, and then other players can say whether they will respond to the flare call. These are just assumptions that I have right now and speculation. We also have hubs being a thing still, so you can actually set up a room to begin with friends and just go out into a hunt that way rather than using the flare system. It's just an extra option really. In my opinion, I actually like the flare system because if you are struggling alone, you can just give the option to other players to jump in and give you a hand. But this does actually raise some questions. So normally in Monster Hunter, when you're playing online, the monster's health scales to how many players are in the group with you. So does this mean that if other players join in and start hunting with you mid-hunt or whatever time during the hunt, does the monster's health actually scale then? Because that is definitely a question that I would like answered. So if any of you guys know the answer to that or want to jump in with your thoughts and opinions on that, then let me know in the comments section. So obviously offline play is a thing. You can do that if you don't want to play with other hunters. There is going to be a voice chat feature available if you wish to communicate with your friends and coordinate in combat. Also, Palicos are confirmed, which is awesome because I love the Palicos. Now, I know hunting arts are not confirmed in this game. That is not something that they are including. Different game, different mechanics, or something along the lines of that is what they said. So I don't think Prowlers will be available. I really loved playing as a Prowler, so I'm kind of gutted if Prowlers aren't a thing in this game. They haven't answered that question yet. I don't even know if anyone's asked them, so maybe I'll go ahead and tweet, can you be a Prowler in this game? Because I would like to know. I love playing as a Prowler. Also, from people who saw more footage at E3, one of the characters was voice acted fully, and it was the quest giver, and also a hunter came along and kind of like held your hand and taught you a few things. They were voice acted as well. So does this mean that the full game is going to be voice acted? Does this mean that Monster Hunter World is going to have more story? I don't know, I guess we'll have to wait and see, guys, but to me that's pretty exciting. I just hope that the voice acting is good and not really, really hammy. All 14 weapons have been confirmed for this game, which is excellent. There is no cross-play between PC, PS4 and Xbox One, sadly, which sucks. I didn't expect it to be cross-play between systems, to be honest, but it would have been nice if it was. However, it is cross-region play, so English players can play with American players, you can play with Japanese players, etc. Now, they are aiming for it to be a stable 30 frames per second on consoles. Hopefully, they can do 60. I really would like it to be 60, but it's not a deal breaker for me. They are also aiming for 4K and HDR on consoles as well, which is phenomenal, since I am a PS4 Pro owner. Monster Hunter World is going to look absolutely fantastic on my amazing 4K premium TV. So I do wonder if PC is going to be uncapped. I was talking to my brother, because he is a PC gamer. He said he would at least like 60 frames per second, but he would prefer it to be uncapped and get 144 frames. It's all malarkey to me. I'm not a PC gamer. I'm happy with 30 frames or 60 frames. I'm not bothered. But I know for some PC gamers, the frame rate is really important. So I do think for PC gamers, they should try and make it uncapped. Monster Hunter World has been in development for roughly 4 years, guys. Damn, they've done a good job of keeping this on the down low. That explains why we don't have that long to wait, which I'm super happy about. I'm glad they announced it now, and we don't have to wait like 1.5 years until it comes out. But anyway, guys, I am so excited for this game, and I just want to address some of the salt and disgusting behaviour that has been going on in the Monster Hunter community, because Monster Hunter Double Cross was not announced at E3 or announced for localization, and instead Monster Hunter World was announced only for PS4, PC, and also Xbox One. I get it. I get the Nintendo fans being upset. They feel like they've dedicated themselves to the Nintendo system, since that's where the Monster Hunter games had released previously, and now it kind of feels like a slap in the face. I get it. Okay, I understand. But what I don't understand is the amount of abuse, death threats, and just over-aggressive behaviour from people towards Capcom and individuals who have helped create Monster Hunter World from Capcom. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, there's no need for it. And to be honest, it's quite disgraceful and disgusting. You can be angry, you can be frustrated, but sending horrible messages to people is not the way to go about change. It's not going to make people respect you in any way, really. If you want your voice to be heard, money speaks with purchases and also petitions, and just fans complaining in a civil way and not an over-aggressive, angry way is definitely the way to go about it and have your message heard. To me, it makes sense that they didn't announce Monster Hunter Double Cross at E3, because it just would have confused new people to the Monster Hunter genre, 2 Monster Hunter games being announced. I do believe Monster Hunter Double Cross will come, because they did say that they don't have any plans to localize Monster Hunter Double Cross on the Nintendo Switch at this time, which is very different from saying never, guys. I do think it will happen, but I don't think it will be before the release of Monster Hunter World. I think Capcom want the focus of fans and of new players that could potentially come to the series to be on Monster Hunter World. So from a business point of view, I think this decision makes sense to me. I don't think it makes sense not to release Monster Hunter Double Cross, but I do believe it makes sense not to release it at this time. From a business point of view, as a fan, I'm annoyed, because I would like Double Cross to come out and kind of tide me over until Monster Hunter World, but the option is still there. I know it sucks about Monster Hunter Double Cross not being announced for the Nintendo Switch, but sadly the only option you really have is to import the game physically or download it digitally. I mean, I don't read or speak Japanese, but as you can see, I've bought my fair share of Monster Hunter games in Japanese, and honestly, so many guides pop up on the internet that it's really easy to navigate. Monster Hunter games in general don't have much story to begin with, but there's plenty of guides that do pop up that do have pictures so that you can match up the images to the items that you need in game, or obviously you can just match up the first few characters. So I've completed like all of these Monster Hunter games in Japanese without knowing the language, and to be honest, it's just a little bit more work really. I love the Monster Hunter series, so I'm just prepared to do that. Obviously not everybody is the same though. As a massive fan of Monster Hunter, I will always just follow the game wherever it goes. I have a really big collection of Monster Hunter games, plush toys, hoodies, t-shirts, figures, art books, and this is just barely scratching the surface. Like, I can only see Monster Hunter World coming to PS4, Xbox One and PC as a good thing for the community and for the series. That's it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave comments down below with your thoughts and opinions about Monster Hunter World. I look forward to chatting with you all. Thank you for watching and take it easy, guys.